Hello, and welcome to the Circuit Breakers interview series. I'm your host, Steve Semler, and today I'm joined by Roger Schmitz, who is the CEO of Moxy Monitor. Roger, thank you for joining us. Would you like to kick us off with a brief background and kind of an introduction to yourself and Moxy Monitor?
Oh, sure, that'd be great. Thanks for having me on the podcast, by the way. Yeah, so we got started with Moxy in about 2013. We actually sold our first unit. We started a little bit before that, but our sales started in 2013, and we've been selling the device on through internet sales and through distributors, and we sell it all around the world, mainly to high performance athletes and researchers. So we can have those two customer groups. So just a little bit about like what the Moxy sensor is. The sensor is a muscle oxygen sensor, so it's a wearable sensor. It's a small little device. I didn't even bring one with me here, but it's a small little device that you just wear. Like athletes will tuck it in their compression shorts, and it measures the oxygen level in their muscles while they're working out. And so that's really useful for guiding the intensity for training for high performance athletes, and it's really useful for research applications where you want to study the effect of a drug or a dietary supplement or a certain exercise technique. You can get feedback as far as what's going on in the muscle in real time. And so the sensor is all optical. You just wear it. It's non-invasive, and it measures in real time while you're doing the sport. So runners, can wear it while they're running. Swimmers can wear it in the water. And then it broadcasts the data wirelessly to something like your Garmin watch or your smartphone or a computer. We have all kinds of applications that pick up the data. But our product is primarily the hardware. We make that sensor, and that's the primary product that we sell. We rely a lot on third-party products like Garmin and other softwares to collect our data. So yeah, we've been at this for about 10 years now, and we're really making some good headway, especially lately in that high performance sport market, as the growth there has been really exciting.
Yeah, I can imagine that as the smart device technology has improved, that's opened some opportunities as well.
Yeah, it's really nice that there's so much data infrastructure already in place that allows us to focus on our core competency, which is taking this measurement. And that was a decision we made early on, was focus on the sensor and then use other people's stuff for handling the data. So Garmin has a cloud system. We can work with the Garmin's and utilize their cloud system, and then there's software packages like Training Peaks that can help users analyze the data, combine it with other data, and that's really been huge, that we've been able to just tap into that existing infrastructure and allowed us to focus on the sensor, which is what we do best.
Yeah. And with the sensor piece of it, you're doing design and manufacturing both, or improvement in both? How does
Yeah,
it, how
yeah,
does,
yeah. So we designed the sensor ourselves, and then we do some of the manufacturing. So we have the circuit boards made. They're actually made here in Minnesota. Some of the injection molding is done. All the injection molding is done here in Minnesota, and then there's some of the batteries and things come from other places. But we bring that together. We do the assembly here, and then the secret sauce is really the calibration. And that's
Mm,
something to calibrate the sensors to make them accurate is really challenging, and that's one of the things we do better than anybody else. And so that's something we're going to keep here for, we're not going to outsource that. That's a really critical feature that we want to keep our hands on.
yeah, device calibration is a huge thing, especially for something as sensitive as an muscle oxygen sensor.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's kind of the trick. That's what makes our device really valuable. It's what's novel about our device, is we can measure much more accurately than even much more expensive devices. And so that's been our kind of our thing that has helped make us successful.
Neat. Well, what are some as you've been working with that, I'm sure you've kind of run into some of the ideas that people have about, oh, well, it's a tech company. They must be all about the software. What are some of the common misconceptions you've kind of experienced about running a business in the tech sector, and how do you address them?
There's a handful of them. One is with the researchers, or the more highly educated people that are really highly educated in physiology. This is fairly new technology, and they haven't been exposed to it before. It hasn't really been available before because it's been so expensive and not really accurate enough. And with our device, it's affordable and accurate, and just they think they know what the data means, but they haven't taken the time to understand it. So there's a big education process um, uh, to help customers understand what the data means and help them be able to make use of it. And I'd say that's actually more on the research side. The more highly educated our customers are, sometimes there's a little bit a bigger barrier because they're assuming they know what it is. What they know what the data is going to do, and then they're a little bit surprised sometimes when it does something differently. On the athletic side, it's been a little different in that there the issue is more what to do about the data. How do you change how the athlete trains um, in order to make them train more effectively, get faster with less effort, essentially, is the goal there. And so they're actually more accepting, and that's been a surprise to me. I think they're sometimes easier to work with than maybe some of the more sophisticated PhD level researchers. So that's been something that is I didn't expect going into it, I guess.
Yeah. So what are the big challenges with, okay, now you have the data. What are you going to do with it?
The biggest challenge is the time it takes for people to figure it out. And a great example is we've done some work with the Norwegian Olympic Committee, and they have some of the world's fastest triathletes are Norwegian, or they're in the top tier, and they just bought sensors in about 2015. So shortly after we launched, they just quietly bought some sensors, didn't really talk to me, and they used them for a long time, but it took them about 5 years to really figure out how to use that data to train more effectively. And it was a huge competitive advantage for them. They started winning, and that's something that is, that length of time is really, it just takes so long. You want it to go faster, and there's just not a lot you can do to hurry that up. You have to give these trainers the time to work with their athletes, over and see what the responses are, and that athletes don't respond to changes in training right away. That takes months, and then they have to try the ideas and test new ones, and then in research, there's a similar, for people to accept that this is an accurate device and things like that. It just takes time, and that's been a challenge. That's really difficult to. You always want to speed it up. You want to go faster, but to some extent, you got to say, okay, no, I just got to let this cook for a while and let these people have their time.
Yeah. What have you found that's been helpful in getting folks to accept or to work with the tool?
One of the things it's been just amazing is we started doing what we call Moxy Summits. And at first we didn't call them that, but then we started calling them Moxy Summits. And we would just invite some of our power users to give presentations on what they were doing. And we didn't pay them. We just said, and in fact, they had to, some of the first ones they had to pay to attend. And they would pay to attend and they'd give a presentation. It was just so they could share ideas with each other. And that has been just amazing. We've got some of the world thought leaders in this technology are giving presentations at our summit. We changed it when COVID hit. We moved it online, and that was actually, it made it better. More people could attend, and it got a lot bigger. And that has been just amazing. People are so willing to share their information to some extent. Some of the really competitive people have motivations to keep their ideas a secret, but a lot of people are really willing to share, and that's been incredible. And that's what's really helped things to move. In where it was otherwise slow, that helped get things
Mhm.
moving. And it's been
Imagine.
pretty incredible. Just the openness and the willingness that people have to contribute. That's really amazing.
And it seems like within a community, even sometimes within the tech community, but certainly within athletics in general, we each have our secret sauce, but we love to talk about how to make things work better. So we
Yeah,
can share the stories.
Yeah, and that's the trainers and the coaches that we work with have done a really good job of balancing that, because there's a lot of secret sauce that's still out there, but there's a lot of things that get shared as well. And so I think they've done a really good job with that, and that's really helped develop the science, and help it helped it to progress in a really valuable way.
Yeah, cool. Well, let me pivot a little bit. Um, a lot of tech leaders, people who are leaders and innovators in the tech industry, really love the technology, but they also have to put up with the frustrations of the people side of the business.
Sure, sure.
Uh,
Yeah.
takes away from the time they could be spent working on solutions or the technology. How do you handle that challenge?
Um, that's an interesting question. A lot of people that we work with, so my expertise is in how to take this measurement, how to make the sensor, how to make the algorithm. Most people don't care. Most people have no interest in that at all. They want to know, how does the data help them make their athletes faster? And that's not actually my area uh, of expertise. And so what I do is I just I hang out with the people that are really good in that space. So be friendly with them, talk with them, learn from them, and go where they want to go, and actually minimize the things that are, they just expect the technology to work and they don't want to hear about it. And so that's really something. I don't say we hide it. We have we have white papers that describe how the technology works, and that stuff. And there's like, we have validation studies that have been done by universities, and it's really important that that stuff exists, but nobody reads
Mm,
it. If it didn't exist, they'd be skeptical. They'd say, wait a minute, how do you know it's accurate? And then you just say, well, I got this validation paper. They won't even read it, but if you have the validation paper, they'll say, oh, okay. And so I think you just have to recognize what the needs are of the people that you're working with, and not overwhelm them with the technology, because they don't care and they shouldn't care. I mean, that's my job. I should make it disappear. I should make it so they don't have to understand that, and they can focus on the part that they do. And I think that's really important, is to back off and just focus on what their needs are, and not what my needs are to talk about the technology.
yeah. How is so you've been running this for over 10 years. How has it the technology landscape and the business landscape changed for you for that period of time?
um the the integration just continues to get better and better. When we first started this, we were really kind of at the front end of what was possible for integration. Like, um, we do a lot of work with Garmin, because the athletes want to see the data on their Garmin. And first on, there was just not a good way to put the data into a Garmin. And then a year or two in, Garmin developed an app system, so we could write an app that would show our data on their watch. And so much of that has happened. The integration into these other tools has really advanced quite dramatically, in ways that just didn't exist when we first started. And
Yeah.
as the openness of all this data infrastructure, it continues to get better and better, and it's really good for us, and it's really good for our customers. They don't want their data in a silo. They want to take their data wherever they want to go, and that is getting better and better. It used to be your data was pretty locked up, and there was really tough to share it, and there's still issues with that, but more and more it's becoming, the data is going where people want it to go.
Yeah. And that makes the user experience so much better for the end user, for the consumer, for the athlete, and I imagine on the research side for the applications that they're doing.
Yeah, the expectation, it used to be that it was okay to, you'd run your test, and then you'd have to download the data from each of your different devices, and then you'd merge it together in a file. That's not acceptable anymore. Now it has to be, they run their test and the data's already, on a website, already have, analyzed, and all the data's put together and time synced. And the expectations have really gone up for the ease of use of the data. It really just has to kind of disappear. And some of this stuff is amazing. You can put on the sensor, go for a run, and you come back in the house and you don't have to do anything. And your coach will see the data on a cloud system. You don't have to push a single button. It says, oh, you're back in the house. I log into the Wi-Fi, I send the data, I know who your coach is. And now your coach has a copy, and without pushing a single button, that data is where it needs to be. And that's really what has to happen. It has to just disappear for the user, that they don't have to think about saving a file, or emailing data or whatever. That stuff just has to be completely gone from their mind.
Yeah. So how is that translated over to the business side? What have been like the biggest challenge you've had to face and overcome as you've built the business up?
Yeah, far and away just the education about what the metric is, and helping people understand what the metric is, and then giving people time to figure out how to use it to in research and how to train athletes better. And it's just brutally slow is the problem. And um, it's something I think, if I was to advise other entrepreneurs in a similar situation where you were looking at introducing a new something totally new that just wasn't, these people just have not, this isn't a better widget, they just have not had this data in any practical way prior to this. And you'd really got to pace yourself. And sometimes you want to hurry it up, and you want to like spend a bunch of money on marketing or things, and then sometimes you got to say, well, no, I just got to give the market time to grow and not run out of cash in the meantime. Figure out how to make this pay for itself at the size it is, and give these smart people time to figure this out, and then be there, support them, and then be there when things are taking off. And that's kind of where we're at. We're seeing things really start to take off now, and so it's been a long haul, but I think that's an important way to think about something when it's a totally new metric. Is there's limited ability to just throw money at it and make it go faster.
Yeah, because you essentially introduced a new product or a new capability, a new technology to the market. Um, and now it's people catching up with, oh, it can do that. Oh, it can do that. Oh, I see how I can use this data.
That's exactly right. Yeah. Yeah. And it just takes there's just a natural amount of time that takes, for that to occur. And like, one example, at first, the researchers didn't really want to use it because they said, well, the prior devices cost $15,000 and they were, yay big, and they sat on a desk, and now this thing is like yay big and wearable and it cost under $1,000. They'd say, oh, it can't work. And they wouldn't be, they'd say, oh, I couldn't write a paper, I couldn't use that in a research paper because it's just a toy or something. But then, after a few people did use it in research papers, then they did some validation studies, but that takes, they buy the sensor, it takes 6 months to do the study, 6 months to get published, and there's just this long cycle there, and then that has to happen 2 or 3 times to start to grow. And so, yeah, those things you just are really hard to hurry up.
Yeah, coming from a bit of the research side myself, yeah, I understand that. I can empathize. So what's next? What's coming up in the next year or so for you for business purposes?
So what's really got us excited now is there's actually a company out of Germany that's been using our product for quite a while, and they've developed a testing methodology using our sensor to be able to calculate physiologic parameters. So instead of giving them muscle oxygen data, we can give the users like their VO2 max, their VLA max. These are training terms. Um, and we can give them training intensity zones, and then we can also tell them, we can make estimates for how many grams of carbohydrates they're burning per hour, how many grams of protein, how many grams of fat. And that translation is really important because that's the kind of data that the trainers want. The muscle oxygen data, they're, oh, that's really cool, and there's lots of interesting things you can do with that. But being able to translate that into these physiologic parameters that they're more used to using to prescribe a training plan is really huge. And that's, this is something that's just been released in the last several months, but we're getting a lot of positive feedback about it. And I think it's just going to make this technology accessible to a lot more people. And then I think it'll also feed into the training algorithms more effectively. It'll help identify what you really need to do to train more effectively. And that's both for, coaching, people that are coached by humans or people that are coached by AI systems. We're seeing a lot of AI systems get developed. And I think feeding that data into these AI systems will make them more effective as well. So a little bit of human intelligence on the front end that created that algorithm, I think, will make the AI systems function much more effectively. And I'm really excited about that because that has the potential to reach a lot more athletes then.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations on how far you've already come, and best wishes for continuing on your growth and expansion cycle.
Well, thanks so
Um,
much.
thanks for taking your time today here with us, Roger. very fun to meet you and hear about the Moxie sensor and everything here, learning more about your entrepreneurial journey. And hope to talk to you again before too long to
Yeah,
find out how things are going.
yeah, that would be great. Thanks for having me on the show. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. And to everyone watching, I look forward to seeing y'all in our next episode. Thanks.